What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're working on my terminal emulator. His name is Termi. It's not very good. We're only like a couple days in. We've got a few commits here that are basically saying like we set up our terminal. Here he is. You know, we can get like a little ls going and it does something. We have like a cursor. When you type, the cursor's there. If I type clear, it actually crashes. Until very recently, that would do something sane. So I think I broke something like just now when I was cleaning stuff up before stream. Let me try going back one, or going back a couple, because this didn't used to be broken. One second. So if we go back to maybe here, or run. Let's clear. Okay, that's working again. So you know that's pretty much all we support. We don't even support like backspacing. But last stream we were working on like color support. So let's run this again with the latest and greatest. We can kind of see where we are at the start of today. If we run pager equals cat git log. We have some form of like color support that we added yesterday, right? So if we do pager equals cat git log, this is what we like expect to see, where we have like red for branches, blue for head, green for whip. We have blue for head, green for whip, red for branches, and then yellow for commit messages. And we have all that, but there's some problem here where we're not resetting correctly to get back to white on this guy. But we're kind of close to something that's semi-reasonable. And so this is where we're at. We were working on colors yesterday, and today we are doing the continuation of that. We're just trying to get to the point where we can like take this color work that we did, call it done, and move on with our lives. So that's the goal for today. And so I think the first thing we're going to do is look at like this git log. We're probably also going to have to look at that crash that we introduced. Crash introduced by on clear. But yeah, the first goal is to figure out why is this not resetting correctly, and then from there we can kind of move on and see where the day takes us. There's not really much of a plan. Yeah, I think that's intro ready to go, and let's just jump into looking at git log. So the way this shit works is, okay, I guess we should do a little bit of history. So back in the day, you had like your little terminal, boop, 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 boop. You know, he's got his little console in here, and he's got maybe like his keyboard, doot, 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 doot. And he's like connected to like some computer. You know, he's got like his like, dude, I don't know how do you draw a computer? You draw like the tower maybe, and he's like, boop, 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 and he's got like some little lights on the front, whatever. This is supposed to be a computer over here, and everything was displayed like on this device, right? Nowadays, all of the work is done here, and your monitor and keyboard are like directly plugged in. They're pretty stupid, but back then, the work of displaying was done on here. And so what would happen is you'd have like a program on here, and he'd say like, well, we want to move the cursor, and so he'd have like this like only like one wire to transfer data over. And so he'd be like, okay, I'll send like a special sequence. I'll just put like a little escape code in here that says like, hey, terminal, don't actually write this on the screen. This is a control character for you. And so he would send something like I don't know, they call it like escape, and then like you have like an open brace that's like, hey, this is like a bunch of stuff, and then they might say like 1 2 I can't remember the letter H, which means like, hey, go to row 1 column 2, or maybe column 1 row 2. And so the way the colors are displayed are doing something similar here. They run like escape, open brace, and then they say like red, which I think was like 31 M, and that means like, hey, 31 means red, and M means like I was telling you red a second ago. And so all of these character codes, all of these colors are like us basically reading each byte that comes from the terminal and looking for this sequence, and then saying, okay, now we have to perform some action based off this sequence. So that's kind of like the backstory for what we're working on. And so we need to maybe figure out why it's not working the way we expect. So probably the reasonable thing to do here is probably to log somewhere the colors that we're seeing, and maybe from there we can see if we're maybe displaying them incorrectly or we're missing one or something like that. So let's do this. Here, you know how I was saying here that like this M means we're parsing like color codes. Oh, not just color codes, also like bold, italic, like basically like rendering codes. Let's say like this is how we want to render. So that's this M here, is we've kind of like parsed all of this at this point and discovered all of the parameters that are in between, and then we say like, okay, we're handling the M case. And so here we can look at this guy and say, maybe we just print out the parameter. And maybe that will give us some form of clue of what's going on. Some clue. Let's run this guy. Run pager equals cat get log. And okay. So maybe we can look at the color codes and try to correlate what we're seeing with what's on the screen. Okay, colors. Okay, so we see. Okay, can we simplify this? Get log, and can you say like how many commits you want? There must be. Oh my god. Get log help. There must be some sort of way to limit this. N, dash N. Get log dash N1. Perfect. That's probably going to make this easier to parse. So you can say pager equals cat. Get log dash N1. Perfect. Okay, so we get 33, which is yellow. 33, yellow again. 1, which means bold or increased intensity, okay. 36, which is cyan, so the 36 is coming in right before this head thing. Okay. 1 again for bold. 32 is probably the green for the whip branch. Yep. So this is 32 here. And then we get 33, which is yellow. Which is interesting. Oh, because that's for this end bracket. And then we see unhandled SGR1, which is bold or increased intensity. So interestingly, nowhere do we see the actual reset that we see when we do pager equals cat get log dash N1. Right here, we see this turn back to white. We don't see that code ever come in. The only thing we see happen is that sometimes they say bold, but that shouldn't be a reset. So maybe it would be interesting to look at like a hex dump of this. I wonder if we can say color equals always and write this out to a file. So get log bin. And if we then cat get log bin, do we get the colors? We do. So the color information was stored, which is good. And we can like look at maybe hex dump dash c get log bin. And do we see something interesting in here? So right before the author line is where we should see a reset of some form. And we do see a escape sequence followed by M. Oh, but there's no parameters in here. Ah, okay. So maybe that there's some sort of default that they expect for the M case. Escape, aha, ha ha ha, escape, open bracket M, acts like a 0 reset code. So what we should be doing here is when we parse this guy, we should be looking for parameter. We loop over the parameters and we say, hey, these are all the things that they try to set. They might have tried to set us like bold and red and italics all at once. But we have to special case the case where there is no param. So if params, parser params is equal to 0. No, the length is equal to 0. If the length is 0, or as it's so helpfully saying we should say is if it's empty, if the parameters are empty, then we push a parameter. And we just say push sum 0. And I guess we should also check if the only thing is... I actually don't know if this case can happen. Let's look at our parser again. Because I think what we do is we say like, we see like escape, open brace, and then we go, this is a CSI sequence. And then we say like, for each semicolon, push a parameter. And at m, push a parameter. And we might just push nones if there's nothing been written. I'm not really sure, so I have to take a look at that. Have to take a look. So let's see, we say, if this is a CSI terminator, we finalize the buffer and we push it. And if the buffer's empty, we push a none. Yeah, so it looks like, I bet, where the fuck were we just now? We go, I'm lost. It's here. I think this can never happen. So for now, we'll just say assert parser params len is greater than 0. Or assert that it's not empty. Fine. Fucking linter. So before we do anything, we can just run this and see if that crashes. I think that that's impossible. Oops. Pager equals cat get log dash n1. Yeah, it does seem like that's not crashing, which kind of indicates that's true. But we can say if parser params len is equal to 1, and the first parameter is none, we will replace it. Parser params 0 is equal to sum, and they say it acts as a reset. Fine is none. Okay. And we can maybe say, for now, just like we can guard against this code changing in the future and say if parser params is empty, we'll just push sum 0. And we'll just note at the time of writing this cannot happen, but in the future it might. Okay. So I think that should be enough actually to fix this. Pager equals cat get log dash n1. Hell yeah. That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. Okay. So that was fixed surprisingly quickly. And we can just kind of say, now, what are we going to do next? What's the next thing on the list? Maybe we start supporting... first we should fix the colors. Fix incorrect colors. So, when we get log here, we see that this is like cyan, and here it's blue. So we kind of just duplicated some colors earlier because we were getting a little lazy. So I think we can look at the GUI stuff. And here, somewhere we have a mapping of terminal colors to actual colors, and we should just fix these up a little bit. So what is like a magenta RGB value? Magenta. 255, 0255. All right. Color 32 from RGB, 255, 0255. And then we can look up like cyan. This seems fine. 0255, 255. And is that the only problems here? I think so. So we can go pager equals cat get log dash n1. Much better. That looks almost like it looks normally. Oops. It still crashes if we do anything else. Pager equals cat git log. We need to have like a pager that doesn't try to do anything fancy. But yeah, that's not bad at all. That actually looks like almost okay. Shockingly. Okay. Minor fix. That was actually, again, another one of those like, oh, there's more to do there. What's next? Okay, so last stream we were looking at this. Maybe I pull up an example here. How do I do that? Sorry, brain's melting. Okay, let me just, if I switch my shell back to a normal shell, bash, instead of this like busybox one, which I do want to do, and just delete busybox from my environment. We can go next shell, and now we can try to run actual bash. Give it a sec. We can cargo run. And he's going to run bash now instead of busybox ash. And what we see here is there's printing some like random shit in front of the cursor. And it's saying invalid CSI sequence. So something that's like a problem with the terminal right now is we only support some of the like many sequences of possible escape sequences. And that's because we kind of just like looked at the Wikipedia table and we were just like, oh, here are some numbers that they say exist, right? Like, oh, they're saying it might be like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, blah, blah. But now we're in the case where we're hitting some of these ones that we didn't implement, and it's like fucking up the output in like a worse way than just not doing them. And that's because the way our parser works is he like looks for things that he understands, and if he sees something that he doesn't understand, he goes like, that's not valid. And so in this case, I'm pretty sure it's that we're hitting this like question mark that we don't support. And so I think what we should do is we should like rejig our parser to actually support, first kind of grab the sequence by looking at like the generic answer, right? There is like a generic answer for not just like, oh, here's a list of things that the next character could be that we support. It's like there is a list of characters that are like allowed. And what we should do is we should like look for the whole allowed sequence and parse that after we've kind of clumped that, if that makes sense. So yesterday we were also looking for a like standard, like a real reference, and we were struggling to find one because I was kind of just like scrolling like this and not really reading. But I did notice off stream that there's this like standard section and there's like ECMA 48. So if we just look up ECMA 48, I think that this is like good enough to get us going. Because I glanced at this and I'm pretty sure I found what I was looking for yesterday when I couldn't find it. So we'll give it a second. We'll download this guy. And specifically, I'm looking for, I think it was this. So a control sequence is a string of bit combinations starting with the control function control sequence, introducer, blah, 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 followed by one or more bit combinations, blah, blah, blah. But here they say the format of a control sequence is the start sequence, then parameter bytes, which consist of combinations from these ranges. We'll ignore the like fucked up formatting of these, like what the fuck is 03/00. Ignore that for a second. And I are intermediate bytes, which if present consist of bit combinations from this guy to this guy. So they're basically saying that there are valid things that you can expect in here, a valid range of bytes you can expect in here, and the final byte consists of a bit combination from this range to this range. It terminates the control sequence and together with the intermediate bytes, if present, identifies the control function. And then there are some extra ones that are not in spec, but are available for use if you want to do something, like add some own custom functionality. And so what we need to do is we need to figure out what these like things are. So I think that somewhere in this guy, they also talk about what the fuck that formatting is. Notation. So this standard uses the notation of the form XX/YY, where XX represents the column number 007 in a 7-bit code table, or 00 to 15 in 8-bit code table, and YY represents the row number. So apparently, instead of just like looking at character codes, they put them in a fucking table and then look at rows and columns, which is wild to me. I don't really understand why you would do that. And I don't know if that table is in here. I think I might just have to Google it. We can look up like 8-bit code table, ASCII. See, like here, they put it, oh, here we go. Printable ASCII table. No. See, I don't really understand why. Oh, maybe the rows and columns are just the first and second byte. Hex 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's actually look at that. Let's see if that is true. So we can look at the control sequence. Where were we? We were looking at... I lost it. C1, notation. Oh, here we go. Control sequences. So... somewhere, is there something that we should recognize? In a 7-bit code, 2-character escape instances, blah, blah, blah. Escape is represented by bit combination 0111. I actually think that's correct. Okay, that makes sense. So our escape code is, we see, let's see if we can find it in here. Where is my shell? NVim. We can look for 1B. So here, we're looking for the sequence 0x1b, which is could be written as 1b, but b has to be converted from hexamal to decimal. So b is 9, a is 10, b is 11. So this is what 111, which is what they've written here. So that makes more sense. So this slashes, they're not really row column. They're like first byte, second byte? I guess. And FE is represented by a bit combination from 4 to 515. Okay. So that means that in here, we should be able to look at parameter bytes from 3.0 to 3F. And so what are those in ASCII table? 3.0 to 3F is just like numbers and up to question mark. Okay, sure, seems reasonable. And intermediate bytes are from 2 to 2.0 to 2F. So the intermediate bytes are all of these guys here. Which, again, sure. Fuck it. So let's kind of like fix this parser to match what the spec says. So where's that? CSI. What does CSI stand for again? I already forgot. Control Sequence Introducer. So this should be a control sequence parser, not a CSI parser, but whatever, that's fine. And so our is CSI terminator is no longer any of this. He is going to be something more like, if we are in the range of 4.0 to 714. So if B is greater than this and B is less than 7D, I think D is 14, pretty sure. Is this inclusive? Does 4, 2? It must be inclusive because... Actually, we don't really know. Maybe they'll say somewhere what their notation is. Notation. In this standard, it is intended blah blah. The standard uses the notation XXYY, where this is 0 to 7 is 7. Do they talk about what 2 means anywhere? 2 clear, like 2 invoke. I actually don't see anything that defines if the ranges are inclusive or exclusive. Inclusive. Exclusive. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to assume inclusive for now because that seems to make more sense based off of what I've been seeing, how they've been seeing them used. So we'll say less than or equal to here. And we can just return this. Boom. We can run our tests to make sure that like that doesn't break anything. And it does. And where? At 356. So our invalid tests are probably no longer reasonable because we're not testing the right things. So I'm just going to comment those out. But all of the things that are like actually trying to parse something are still probably working. Yeah, cool. Cool. And now what we should do is we might want to like, how do I say this? Let's think about this. So I guess our parser is going to go through it still can act as a state machine. It can still greedily parse, I think. But it just means that after we've looked at parameters, we shouldn't, or after we've started looking at like intermediate bytes, we should never go back to parameter bytes, which are in completely different sequences. So maybe we're going to have our parser state is going to have, he's looking for parameters, he's looking for intermediates. Okay. And then or he's finished or he's invalid. Perfect. And so what? Let me think about this. So what we're trying to handle is the case where we have anything that is of the form escape, open brace, anything, terminator. We want to make sure that the stuff in here, even if it's invalid, we still consume everything up to the terminator. That's kind of like the main goal here. And so what happens if we're parsing intermediates and we get a param? Like going to invalid doesn't really seem reasonable. We still have to make it to finished. Well, maybe we just can go into the invalid state, and even if we're in the invalid state, we'll just keep looking for terminators. That seems reasonable. Okay. This seems fine to me. Okay. So we start looking for parameters. Okay. And while we're looking for parameters, we say if we're a CSI terminator, we finalize and we go to finished. There's no real guarantee, I guess, that parameters are like values separated by semicolons. That's kind of like just a thing that some of the guys happen to do, I guess. Let's look at, can we look, does this guy have in his spec something about like the SGR things or like the rendering codes where on Wikipedia, it says somewhere that they can be, several attributes can be set in the same sequence separated by semicolons. So we need to look at our parser and say, like, should our generic parser expect semicolon delimited? Is that something that's like actually true? Or is that something that we are kind of assuming later? So we could maybe look at this guy and try to look at the same thing where one of the things is SGR. And so notation, representation is CSI parameters followed by this terminator, parameter default value, and we establish blah, blah, blah. Each graphic rendition is specified by a parameter value. And here are the parameter values. And he doesn't really talk about the semicolon in here. So maybe it is the semicolons are like a generic parameter separator. Okay. Where is that like table? Here. So, however, we do see that some of these guys do like start with a question mark. So we can't really assume that everything's going to be a number. Maybe what we do is our params are just going to be stored as individual bytes, and our intermediates are also going to be stored as individual bytes. And when we try to like look at them and try to like convert them into parameters, we might say like split by semicolon and convert into a number. But we'll do that kind of lazily later depending on which function we're in. I think that makes sense. So we have params and we have intermediates. I think that's fine. So now, I guess, while we're parsing params, if is CSI param, we just say self params push B. Else if is CSI intermediate, we're going to switch into the intermediate parsing mode. So we're going to say CSI parser state intermediates. And we're going to populate that intermediates with the first intermediate that we saw. So like this. Okay. Else, if it's a terminator, we just switch to the finished state. Okay. And we don't have to handle semicolon specially anymore. And we don't have to handle this. And all right, I think that's fine. And then we do the same thing for intermediates. However, in the case where we how do I say this? In the case where we see a parameter, we should no longer see parameters if we're parsing intermediates. And so here we should go into the invalid state immediately, I guess. If it's an intermediate, we push the intermediate. So we say buff.push B. I guess it's not buff, it's a self intermediates push B. Which actually kind of means that nothing needs to like buffer anything in these anymore. We don't really care about these. There's no buffering happening at all. So we just, well, turn those off. Okay. And I guess we probably need another like invalid finished state as well. Okay. If it's a terminator, we go to the finished state. Great. And otherwise, we go to invalid. Cool. We can look at invalid. We should only cancel invalid finished here. So on invalid finished, we should not be called anymore. And now we just have to handle the invalid state, which means that we just look for a terminator. So we just look for this. If it's a terminator, we set our state to, instead of finished B, we can call it invalid finished. We were invalid, but we still saw a terminator, and we should still be good. And now we should just have to implement that is CSI param and is CSI intermediate. So we take in the byte, we return a bool, and we do the same for is CSI intermediate. We flag them as unimplemented initially just because I want to like get through compiler errors before implementing these guys. This is wrong now. This should be self.intermediates push B. Okay. Seems reasonable. Cargo build. Do we just compile? No. Lots of reasons we don't compile. Let's work through them. So 101. Go to ANSI 101. This guy doesn't expect a vector anymore. Sure. And intermediates needs to be set as well, initially. Okay. What else? 235. So right, these parameters are no longer like some and none. They're all just individual bytes. And so what we actually need to do here now is we are assuming that when we, in this state, that we are numbers. So we actually want to say that let params is equal to parser params split. And we want to split where at any spot where a byte is equal to semicolon. Okay. And then we want to map each value to its like corresponding number, I guess. So I guess here we might have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so hopefully this split will give us like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8. We can just parse that thing. I'm pretty sure that's what it gives us. So split, if we get 10, 40, 33, 20, and we split at num %3, we get 10, 40, and 20 as next items in the iterator. Perfect. So we should be able to say our parameters are now going to be able to parse. We're going to say map each thing. Param stir is going to be a parse version of that. And did we have a parse before? Yes. So we did something like param bytes, call it. And here we should say stood stir from UTF-8 param bytes. And now this can actually fail, and that would be reasonable, right? Because if our parameter has like a fucking angle bracket in it, because that's like a valid parameter value now, and we're trying to like turn that into a number, we're gonna be like, what the fuck? That's not a number. Reasonably, like totally reasonably. And so in the case of us parsing these like SGR codes, this like one specific case, I think that we are expecting that each code is one of these numbers. And so I think that seeing anything but a number should be invalid. And I think that's reasonable. So what do we do there in that case? In that case, I guess we end up invalid. Right? We go from being like, oh, we've finished parsing this. But now that we're like in the finished state, we can't actually send back a reasonable value, which is maybe fair. And so maybe what we do is in that case, we say to our caller, we might be able to do something like output push terminal output invalid, right? We got something that is not reasonable. And so what does that mean? How do we get from here, this thing that might fail, into this? I guess this guy will return a result of some form, a usize or a stood num parse error. Okay. And we can return this now. So we say like, except this isn't the thing here. From UTF-8 doesn't return a parse error. It returns a UTF-8 error. So this is one of those, like, maybe we'll just, we won't worry about like returning the type of failure. We'll just say map error like this. Or how do you like, do I have to do like something like this? Let param stir is equal to param bytes. And then we return, okay, 0 for now. Oh, we'll parse it. So we say let param is equal to param stir parse map error take the error, ignore it. And then we'd say, okay, param. That's looking pretty okay. We have to dereference this guy. And it looks like this works. Okay. And then we have a bunch of params. We should collect these into a vector, I guess. Well, do we have to? No, we can just iterate over them as they are. So here we can say let for param in params. Oopsies. We push a thing. And maybe we say if let okay param is equal to param. Yeah, that makes sense. And otherwise, what do? We say print line. Maybe we do a match here. Match param. And if we have okay value, we propagate the value. Let param is equal to this. And if it's an error, we actually don't have an error that we care about. We just deleted them all. They're all completely ignored, so we can just say this. Else, maybe we just continue. And maybe print line invalid SGR parameter. Seems reasonable to me. Seems reasonable to me. And then this shit doesn't matter, kind of. I guess it kind of does. So here we still have to handle the case where we had no parameters because we found earlier this stream that that's important. So maybe we will just still collect these into a vector. And maybe we'll collect them into a result. A result vec usize. Okay. And error is a unknown. Okay. And yeah, that looks reasonable to me. And then we can do this stuff here. Oopsies, I got lost. So we can still do this like extra pushing of stuff. Except we don't have like some and none anymore. We just have params push 0. And we just have to now take this guy. No more parser params, just params. And we can just say let okay params equal to the existing params. Okay. Otherwise, we do something, and probably what we do is we just push terminal output invalid, and we print line invalid SGR sequence. Okay. Cool. And then continue. Is that what we're doing here? Yeah, we're in a loop. Continue. This is sketch, by the way. Like, this is the type of thing where maybe this is why I should have, like, functions for each of these guys instead of trying to, like, handle everything directly in line in this, like, giant fucking enum. Like, if I wanted to return earlier, like, I was so close to typing return, and that would have been, like, a fucking problem. So we don't have to worry about this anymore. And params needs to be mutable. So do I have to write, like, okay, mute params like this? Is that how we do it? Nice. Nice. It's probably still fucking broken. 150, he doesn't like flatten. So what's going on here? Extract param. We're not even using this anymore, probably. Okay, which means that people who are calling him are going to be busted now, so. These guys expect... This guy expects semicolon delimited in the same way. So maybe we should actually filter or take this function that we just wrote down here and turn him into like a real function. So we can say like function split by semicolon split params into semicolon delimited usize. Sure. Fuck it. Right? And he's going to take in some params, which is a bunch of u8s, and he's going to return a vec usize, and he can fail. And maybe we even get like a little crazy, and we can call this like param split error. Actually, we'll give it a sec. Give it a sec. I think that we didn't have to do some of the stuff we did earlier. Okay, so we have this. Let param str is equal to this. So I think that this error actually should never fucking happen, because the only valid parameters were in a valid UTF-8 range. So we should actually be able to say expect parameter should always be valid UTF-8. And then we can just return this parse error, and we can say that the only way this can fail is a stood num parse int error. Nice. Okay. And oops, where did it, God, where were we? This all was in an iterator, and so we should still actually do that. So this like this, except we can expect on this guy. Parameter should always be valid UTF-8. We get the param, and then this guy becomes num parse int error. Nice, okay. This guy map error goes away, and maybe we don't need the type signature here. Maybe it'll figure it out. Okay. This is params now, not parser params. And all of this still looks good. And then we do the same this guy, except we just return an error now. And I guess now our error could either be that we failed to parse or that it was invalid. But I guess both of those result in a, like, the same end resultant behavior. So maybe we'll go back. We'll go back. We will go back to using a nothing for our error type. And here we will return nothing. Okay. And that failed. And we return params. Okay, params. So here we can come back here and we can say let params equal split params into semicolon delimited usize. And we take in self parser params like this. And this stuff still stays the same. Cool. But that means that now we can reuse some of this code. Here, params split in this. And do we do the same thing if he's not okay? We say invalid cursor set position sequence. Okay. And then here, if params len, fuck. This is actually important. So if a parameter was not provided, it is still different than the parameter not being there. How do I say this? So if you have like escape, open brace, nm. Say you put in like 1, 1 here. This is saying go to position 1, 1. But you can omit 1. So this is saying the same thing. This is saying the same thing. So we actually need to flag still in this guy he's not just returning vect usize, he's actually returning vec option usize. Because there might be scenarios where it's empty. And so now we should have to check if param stir is empty. We say, okay, none, right? Otherwise, it is some. So maybe we say, here we return, okay, none. Otherwise, we parse it and return, okay, some param, okay. Chilling. So this is result vec option. Jesus. You like that type? Result vec option usize? Look at that bad boy. Woo! We're getting crazy. Which means that the other guy who used this right now, he actually still needs to check that these guys are something. So maybe he'll just say, let some param is equal to param, else continue, else here, else continue. So he's kind of saying like, hey, maybe they gave us an empty parameter, and that doesn't fucking matter. That's no big dealio. Which means that actually in this case, we have to go back to handling the case where there is one parameter and it's none. Or all the parameters are none, I guess. Nope, I think we don't have to handle that. I changed my mind. Because the Wikipedia page says CSI-M is treated the same as CSI-0M, but it doesn't say that CSI semicolon 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 M is treated the same. So, fuck it. You know? Fuck it. Okay, so we're back here. And let's see. This like extract param function was actually kind of useful. This guy was basically, he folded down the logic of like, for vec, in the case of vec option usize, if you want to say get param2, he was saying like, he was doing all of the work to say, if vector is not of size 2, then like return none, and then like take the thing inside and check if it's none. Like, so maybe we still want that in some way. In which case, this guy, maybe does he return something that has that? No, we'll just say function extract param that takes in a params, but in this case, it's of a bunch of option usize, okay? And he returns an option usize, okay? And we pass in the parameter index. So we say idx here, and we just say params.get idx. Let some param is equal to this, else return none. Okay, chilling. And then we can say param. Is that right? Yeah. Or what's the other way? You have to say like params get, I think what we did last time was he said like copied flatten. Yeah. That looks very slightly nicer. Very slightly nicer. And so now we can go back here and we can say extract param 0 from params. And this could say extract param 1 from params. And now he looks almost the same as he did before. And here, certainly, this is going to look the same, except, well, let's see. This guy, the G state, is a single column thing. So he's very similar to the other one, except he only expects one guy. Yeah, that seems fine. Sure. And then the J state is, well, okay, let's look at the G state is not allowed to have semicolon delimited. Let's see what the spec says about him. So what is his actual name? It's like cursor left, cursor down, cursor right, cursor. What is the name of this guy that we were looking at? The G is cursor horizontal absolute. That's what we're looking at. So let's see what the spec says. Cursor CHA. Parameter default value is equal to 1. And he does say that he's only allowed to have one parameter, PN. So maybe we don't do this like semicolon shit in this case. We just say we expect to have a single, we expect to be able to turn the parameters into a number. So we can say so we have split params into semicolon delimited usize, and we can have another function that's just like parse param as usize. This is going to be taking a parameter, and he's going to take anything, and he's going to just return a result usize. Simple. Simple. And is this similar enough to this that it should be reused? It's the same code, except for the fact that we don't do OK none and OK sum. So that's fine. We'll just do the same thing here. So we convert the param into a string. We try to parse the string, and if it's an error, we give up, and then we return the param as is. Boom. So now anybody that requires a single parameters can say let OK param is equal to parse param as usize, and we just pass in parser params. We should expect a single usize here. Else, we have some sort of invalid shit going on. And we'll call this xpos here. Unless it's empty. Ugh. Sure. So I guess this actually is exactly this code. This code is exactly this. So he's going to try to extract one parameter, one single parameter, right? And here then we can say just do parse param as usize param bytes. That's the same fucking code. But now we can call it directly parse param as usize. And this is reasonable too, except now it's param singular on wrap or one. Cool. That makes sense. And we can do the same here for the J case, where they're expecting a single number in the range of like 0 to 3. So this guy is, he parses a param, and this is an invalid clear command. Sure. And what now? What now? What now? What now? He has param unwrap or, but this should be unwrap or 0. So this should be like this, param unwrap or. And I'm also realizing these early returns, we actually have to set up we have to clear the current ANSI parser state to make sure that next time he doesn't continue trying to parse, which is fucking annoying. But it is what it is. Okay. And hopefully we're like close to compiling now. Oh, we do compile. And so now we can like run and see if, oh, probably it won't work because we still have some unimplementeds here. So is CSI param? We can go back to spec, and it was in here somewhere. It was in here somewhere. Elements of the C1 set. No. Not it, not it. It was, oh, down here, control sequences. So 3.0 to 3.15, which is 0x3.0 to 0x3f. So b is greater than this. I guess it's greater than or equal to for both of these, actually. And b is less than or equal to this. Ooh, that's kind of nice. 0x40 dot equals 0x7d contains b. What a fancy little thing. So this is 3O to 3F. And intermediates were 2O to 2F. Okay. And all of these need a little ampersand to make them happy. Cargo test. We can probably just check if the existing functions all pass, which is good. The fact that all of these are still passing means that we didn't really fuck up anything like heavily, to the point where, well, we could have fucked up something, but nothing we've tested is like heavily fucked up, which is good. And we can now like ls, clear, and oh, clear is also still broken, so we have to fix that. But we will notice that we no longer have that like garbage leading us, right? We have unhandled CSI code H instead of having it just printed here. So that's like a really good sign. Really good sign. So we can say improve CSI parser. Improve CSI parser to support unhandled sequences. Support unhandled. We'll just leave it so it stays on one line. What to do if I feel stuck in the project? Probably should grab apart and fully rewrite. Been making no progress due to tech debt. I mean, if you're making no progress due to tech debt, fixing the tech debt seems reasonable. I think that the answer to that question is very, like, as a lot of things, I think, personal to some extent, right? What do you do if you feel stuck? Like, what do you do? Like, it depends on what feeling stuck means, right? I guess if you're saying that you're, like, drowning in tech debt, I think that probably spending some time fixing tech debt that is bothering you is, like, a reasonable thing to do. But if you're like stuck because like you just have no motivation to work on something, that's like kind of harder. How do you like bring back motivation? That's like a real like personal to you. You have to just kind of figure out what works for you. I think that I would personally stray away from just rewriting stuff for the sake of rewriting stuff. I'm of the opinion that like once something's in a code base, you have to justify changing it, right? So if you can justify that this shit's slowing you down, and you could like write that in a commit message with a commit that fixes it, then like that's reasonable. But if you're just like, I changed stuff because I was feeling frustrated, well, I would say just work on something else, right? Like clear your mind with something. I don't think that like you should like punish your coworkers. But if it's just your code, then who fucking cares? Do whatever the fuck you want, right? I don't know. There's a lot to think about, but hopefully my ramblings were helpful in some way, shape, or form. Let's delete some of this unused code. Remove these mutes that are unused. Boom, boom. 218. Punish all the coworkers. I mean, I hate, like, I've seen sometimes where you have, like, people bouncing back and forth between two things. They just like make the same commit back and forth because like one guy thinks it should be one way and one guy thinks it should be another way, and like the review system isn't like thorough enough for anybody to stop it. So people just like punch the same code back and forth. It's like, why the fuck are we doing this? Now if you want to ever like look at it, all you see is this like fighting, and if you want to see like what happened like for real, like you can't find it anymore. It's like, ugh, I don't know. Okay. So let's the next thing we want to do is fix broken clear command. What the fuck is going on there? Not sure. Somewhere we broke that, and I want to fix it. So what happens here when and I guess I shouldn't put question marks at the time. I know what time it is. It is 01, 03, 45. So clear. Why is this fucking breaking? This is breaking because byte index 3 is out of bounds here. So I bet this has to do with some of the color tracking stuff that we implemented yesterday. So we implemented this like color tracker. And we said, hey, we have a bunch of areas that are colored, and you can like push sections, I guess, right? So I can say like, hey, I have some text, ASDF 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can say 0 to 4 is red, and 4 to 8 is blue, right? And then when that is rendered, that should render like blue ASDF and, red ASDF and blue 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how it should be rendered. And probably what I think is happening is when we type clear, we now just deleted this stuff, right? So now we have tech. We just have like a $sign for like our prompt line. And then we're trying to say, please color bytes 4 to 8 as blue. So we're trying to say like render blue, and we try to like insert some stuff in here, and we go like, what the fuck? There's nothing there. Like you said to color the stuff 4 to 8 blue, but there's nothing at 4 to 8. What the fuck are you talking about? And so probably what we just do in that case is we just reset the color tracker state. So when we delete stuff, we just say, hey, if I push the range 0 to infinity, and I say that that is all going to be the default color, or the current cursor color, default probably makes sense, then we're good. I actually wonder what the correct behavior is. If we're trying to write red and then we clear, do we continue writing red after the clear? We should open up another terminal mode to test that. So if I say, first we have to like fix the prompt line shit, so we can say export ps1 equals $sign. Oh, that doesn't work because we have to unset prompt. Nope. Is it not unset? Man bash unset. Export. Okay, so we have like ways to export. This supplied names are marked for automatic export to the environment. Is there like, man, we'll just Google it. Bash unset environment variable. I thought it was unset, but maybe not. Yeah, unset. So why are they saying it's undefined? Env grep prompt. Oh, it's prompt command. Unset prompt command. Okay, and then export ps1 is equal to $sign. Okay, so now we have a $sign, and maybe it should be $sign space. There we go. And so if I were to like echo a escape code, I always use cheat sh for that stuff. Is this a virus? Surely not. Surely not. So it just looks like a bash shell cheat sheet. Oh, interesting. So they have like subdirectories for things. So you can do cheat sheet bash? Oh, that's kind of sick. Wait, that's cool. I've never seen this before. Does it do like, what if I wanted to like look up like JavaScript? Does it have like, nah. That would have been cool if they have like, it's for commands. I see. So if I want like cheat sheet grep, then you, oh, that's pretty sick actually. Cause like one that gets me all the time. So if I'm just like in my thing, I can just like curl cheat sheet and look at like JQ, which is like, oh, that's so sick. Wait, that's so cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm gonna use that. Thanks for the hot tip. What was I trying to do for real though? I was trying to check. Okay, say I try to echo that I want to print red ASDF. Okay, now everything's red forever until something clears it. If I type clear, it's still red. Good info. Okay, so what we're actually gonna do is we're going to not just push the range to default. We're going to push it to the current cursor. So the assumption here is that when we clear, we want everything to be print in the current cursor state. So we just have to go to the place where we clear. And there's reset, which would unread it. I don't know how it works though. Yeah, but lucky for us, reset is fucking broken for us right now. It doesn't work at all, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so clear all is easy. We say, hey, from here, take everything, delete it. And so we can just say the color tracker push range. In this case, we can just say everything to everywhere, default, or current cursor color. So I think that the way we flag that is self cursor. We call it cursor pause, which we have to fix, but it's really cursor state. We take the color of the current cursor, and we say 0 to usize max. Literally just like set the whole range of that guy. And I guess we have to clone him, or is this by reference? Clone. Which seems kind of stupid. This guy should just implement copy. Because he's like, what, like 2 bytes? That's a fine thing to copy. Cheat sheet does have stuff like JavaScript, by the way. Oh, that's so sick. How do you like find out what it has in there? Like, how do you find that? You go here and oh, here, an intro. I see. So you have like help. Nice. Nice. So you can do like list. And it'll show you all the stuff. Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Very, very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so here, in the case where we clear everything, we set that. If we're clearing backwards, if we're going backwards, we want to... I don't really know how clearing backwards works, so we're just going to say, put another fixed bean here, and say, track color. But when we clear forwards, that's another easy one where we just take the current cursor position. So we say buff pause to the end of the world, set it to the current color. And now, probably, if we run clear, it should work. It's a pretty cool project. How far along are you? Not very. We started 2 streams ago. So, we have right now a terminal emulator that, you know, has something. We are recently started working with like colors. So if I say pager equals cat get log -m1, we do see like some form of color here. That's broken again. We fixed this earlier this stream and then we broke it again. That's super sick. We should write a test for that, I guess. But we've got some form of color, right? We've got yellow, blue, green in the correct spots. This is all supposed to be white, but it's not happening right now. So we have to look at that actually. But on the bright side, clear is no longer breaking the terminal. Huzzah! We fixed it. So that's a hooray here, and then we can go back to fix git log again. Fix git log again. Brownie face. Is there scroll back on that already working? No. In fact, we don't even have backspace. If I mistype, I just yell fuck and then try to write it again. We'll get there eventually, but we're definitely far from anything usable. Well, I guess scrollback might be working by some definition of scrollback. Pager equals cat get log. Because really, you can just keep expanding the window forever, and we never delete anything. So really, if you just scroll like this, that's kind of like scroll back if you think about it. Fuck. Okay. What if you curl cheat sheet in your terminal? I bet you that'll work. Curl cheat sheet bash. Yeah, there's no... we are probably missing a lot of formatting here. You can tell because it's just like everything's red. Probably somebody tried to set it to something else and we just didn't do that right. But that's actually going to be a kind of fun test probably to continue with later. Okay. So what was I actually trying to do? I was trying to fix git login because it's fucking broken again. And it's just that same case that we fixed before and we probably broke it again where they pass in an escape code with the terminator M with no parameters. So I thought this should work because we say split into semicolon delimited usize. Yep. So can we just like print out the params maybe? What do we get here? What is the fucking problem? We're gonna run. Pager equals cat get log -n1. He's broken. And you know what? It's really fucking... This is so stupid. It's so stupid. We should just write a fucking test because it's like the easiest fucking thing to test in the world. Test, function, test, ansi color. Okay. So we make a new ansi parser. And we just push in. We push in the escape code, followed by this, followed by an. And this should get back... We know that this should get back clear. Not clear, sorry. What's the word? This should be terminal output SGR. And the SGR should be default. So where the fuck is SGR? Select graphic rendition, reset. This is what we expect to see. And so we should just fucking test that. And that test will fail now because it's an undeclared type. Why? Because this is not using everything. Fuck it. Use superstar. Use the world, please. I don't give a shit. And that fails. And it says... Panicked at 420. Blaze it. Oh, because we tried to index into thing, but the length is 0? Okay. So... Now, we can just look at this guy. And so he is in this M case. And here he's hitting this, but it's not happening. So why? We have okay, none. Oh, so we also have to check the case where if params len is equal to 1 and params 0 is none. Params push sum, params 0 is equal to sum 0. Now, I don't really understand. I thought that this wouldn't happen anymore after we changed the code, but I was clearly wrong. Clearly wrong. And that test passes now. Huzzah! We fixed it. So now if I cargo run, and pager equals cat get log dash n1, there we go. And so that's why even if you fix something and you manually test it, which I do all the fucking time, and you should just write the fucking basic unit test. It's so easy, and it would have protected me from, like, regressing this, right? It's all, like, in my mind, it's way more about, like, regression than it is about, well, also, like, documenting what you tried and what you didn't try. But, like, the laziness in me always says, fuck it, like, I can test that quickly. It's so easy. And then, like, it immediately bites me so often. It's like, I should just fucking do it. Just do it. Okay. Okay. What's next on the list? So we fixed the crash. We fixed CSI parsing for unsupported sequences. What do I want to do next? Bold italic seems kind of reasonable. Let's try that. Let's try... why am I putting question marks? I know what time it is. It's 01:18:10, and we're going to look at adding bold italic support. Okay. So maybe we kind of checkpoint here. Git commit, get checkpoint. Git commit dash m, checkpoint. Colors, okay. Clear, okay. What else is okay here? Git log, okay. I don't know. We'll fix it. I go back and fix these up later. I promise that these commits that you see here, I promise those aren't what actually gets committed. If you ever go back and look through the Git history of my projects, I swear, once they get into master, they have reasonable commit messages and reasonable diffs. I just don't want to handle that right now because it's not really fun for you guys to watch me rebase for 30 minutes. Okay. Let's look at the ANSI parser. He's already open. Close this, close. Okay. So our ANSI parser, one of the many things that he might look at is he might see bold and italic. And I think that we saw that git log was trying to set bold and italic. I think. Let me just double check here. Git log dash n1. That crashes. Fuck. Pager equals cat git log dash n1. Okay. So I think we see some 1, which is bold, if I remember correctly, on the SGR codes. Select graphic rendition 1, bold or increased intensity. Yeah, okay. So let's add one of these guys, bold, and 1 goes to bold. Okay. And then we look for whoever uses reset. He's only really used in one spot, it looks like. Why is this terminal window fatter than it should be? There we go. So this reset is where he should be used, and this is like, hey, could you make me a terminal color? Which is reasonable. And it seems like, I guess bold is probably independent of the color. So if I set bold and color, those two things go together. So let's take this, and we're going to rename the cursor pause to cursor state. Okay, and let's maybe say bold is like a Boolean. Are we bold or not? Or maybe, yeah, that seems fine. Are we bold? Are we not bold? Okay. So now, here, we say bold is false by default. Okay. Sure. Seems reasonable. And then what happens? I guess we have to do the same thing that we do with the color, which makes me kind of think that the color tracker shouldn't just track colors, but he should also track bold. Am I bold or not? Yep. And by default, that's false. Okay. And here, when we pass in something, we don't just pass in the cursor color, maybe we pass in the whole cursor state. Like this. And now, anywhere we were using the color, which was called cursor color, we just call this cursor color, okay? And then we can also say bold is equal to cursor bold. Easy. Easy. What happens here? What is happening in this fucking shit show? Okay, first of all, fix me, what the fuck does this loop do? Right? This is one of those, like, 100% should be split into, like, readable words that by a human instead of just, like, this, like, it almost looks like a just random sequence of numbers and letters to me. This is so fucked. But here, I believe what's happening is we are in the state where start is less than the start and the end is greater than the end. Okay, so we have some sequence of bytes, like A, S, D, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of these are marked as red. And then we come in and we say, could you put blue at, can you color like maybe DF12 is blue, is what we're kind of saying here. So now you have to turn this into, the new state is going to be red, ASD, or AS. Blue is DF12, and then we go back to red as 3, 4. So what this piece of code is doing is he's like taking this one chunk that's saying like color these bytes red, and he's splitting them into 2 chunks. And so he's pushing like the second half over here. And so I think we just take the second half and we just say bold is equal to the old bold. Easy. Easy. Okay, cool. And now when we just do this stuff, we, instead of doing this, we do this. We push the cursor pause. And we shouldn't call it cursor pause. We should call them cursor state. But we'll fix that in a second after all the other compilers are gone. All right. One more here. All right. Park and run. So far, oh, oops, no cursor pause in terminal editor. Because in GUI, we have to save after our rename. So now we run this guy, and something will happen. And I think we're just chilling. Nothing's changed because we didn't actually add support for bold anywhere. We just added to the cursor, but we never set it. So somebody, somewhere, they try to get the terminal color, but then they might say, else if, and what are they going to say here? If SGR is equal to S bold, if he's bold, we set bold to true. And so now we're kind of in this other case where the reset has to unset bold, but he doesn't because we consider the reset a color. So we should not do that. We need to handle that case manually. So that means that here we need to say else if SGR is equal to select reset, we set the bold to false and the color to default. Okay. And maybe this should be like one big match, to be honest. Maybe. Should this be one big match? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Maybe. Maybe it should. But maybe this is fine for now. Yeah, okay. So then we need to handle the boldness in the GUI. So he says, hey, can I get the colored data? And this says, here is a section with terminal color. And maybe we want to call this like something else now. Maybe we want to call this like format data. And this is no longer going to return a terminal color, but maybe he's just going to return like the whole color tag. Fuck it, blaze it. And maybe we're just going to return a vector of color tags. Maybe. And the color tracker, colors. Maybe he's just going to return the color tags. What is happening here? Oh, he's assuming they're adjacent. This is fucked. We don't need to. This is based off old code. This actually should be different. Let's just return the color tag. Okay. And this can just be self color info.clone. Okay. Clone exists, but the trait bounds were not satisfied. Why the fuck not? Because this guy doesn't derive clone. Shut up. Okay. And probably our tests don't pass anymore because somebody was expecting these guys to be terminal colors. So, first of all, the colors thing doesn't even exist anymore. This is... Oh, it does. Which is bad. This shouldn't be color tracker. This should be format tracker. Okay. And this should be a format tag. So the color tag. Okay. Okay. And we're gonna rename this to format tracker here. Okay. And colors is no longer what it is. It's like format data or something. What was it? Color tracker. No, it's format tracker. Sorry. And instead of colors, we should just call this format sections. I don't know. Format tags. We'll just call it tags. Fuck it. Seems fine. I'm okay with that. Yep. Okay, and so here, now for each of these tests, we're going to say tags is getting the tags. And now, instead of this, we should say that we expect a thing that says format tag start 0 end 3 color default. Oh, this is almost certainly macroable, right? Wouldn't this be a fucking crazy macro? Okay, so we say this goes to format tag and start colon this, find the dot, delete 2 dots, say end colon this, go to the next word, and we'll then say color is equal to this, go to the end this guy, and say bold false. That's the expectation. And the macro breaks because I accidentally did a find that fails, and for some reason that like kills macros, but you can just paste this thing. We can see what the whole macro did. I can delete the section that was like, no, don't fucking do that. And yank this back into it, and now the macro should work. Hell yeah, baby. This one broke, but that's okay. So n should go to usize max like this, and then color is like this, and the rest I think is right. Dude, we love macros, man. Dude, that's so sick. And then I also don't like that they're going too far after. There we go. No. So at the end, I'm running false this, and then I'm going to, what is like LXJ0 here? Oh, that makes sense. I don't see anything wrong with that. Okay. At Q. It's just not going to the right spot, but that's fine. It's fine. We'll live. We will live. God, that's so sick. It would be nice if I could just like spam the macro, but you know what? Sometimes you have to live with suboptimal behavior. Okay, cargo test. Cargo test. Cargo test. Maybe I can type it. Okay, doesn't like that. Because on all these pushes, I'm pushing the wrong thing. So we need to say let cursor state is equal to cursor state. And why isn't the indexer not telling me what I need to type in there? That's fucking annoying. So he needs x use x0 y0 color terminal color default and bold false, and we just make this guy immutable. And then instead of I missed a max, yeah, I sure did. I missed a couple of them. Color this one, and I missed one down here as well. Good eye, good eye, good eye. Usize max color like this. I probably missed these others are good. Okay. So when I push these guys now, instead of pushing like this, I say cursor state dot color is equal to terminal color yellow, and I push that in here, and that's probably actually macroable too. We go to the part where I say the thing. Please pass in cursor state instead. Make a new line where I say cursor state color is equal to what I just yanked. And we can just do that on all of these now. Sometimes I worry that Vim macros, like, they almost make you, like, too efficient sometimes, where you're, like, willing to put up with shit that you normally wouldn't be willing to put up with. But they're also super fucking cool. Colors. So this should be tags. So first, let's find all instances of colors and replace these with tags, 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 tags. Okay. Does that fucking run now? No, because there is no equals for format tag. That's okay, we can just make it. I don't care. Okay, we're close. Now, the only place that's a problem is the actual real world usage of it. So 3.9. Oh, this isn't like that because this should be cursor state, not cursor state, whatever the fuck I wrote there. And now the last thing is in the GUI. We are now, instead of trying to work with ranges and colors, we say the tag is this. And we can say the range is equal to tag.start, tag.end, and the color is equal to tag.color. And now everything else should just work the way it used to work. Close. Cargo run. Close. Mute range. Close. There we go. We're chilling. So ls clear pager equals cat get log dash n1. Okay, so everything's back in the right state, which is good, except we now just have to handle bold. So I'm kind of hoping that we can handle bold in the same way that we handled the colors, and that eGUI will just let us say, hey, could you make these characters bold, please? Please? Instead of having to like split it up, but let's see, text format, italics, underline, no, no bold, only underline and italics. Oh, font ID, I can change the font ID. So here I can probably say, I think that there's like a different bold font. So I can take like the existing font and say like, hey, for this part, could you please use like font but bolded? So is there like bold gold? Is there a way for me to like go from a monospace font in eGUI to the equivalent bold? What the fuck is a font ID? So we have size, we have family, that is, you know, one of these guys, okay. How? Is there no, like, oops. Is there no, like, bold or, like, font name? Can I go from font ID to font name? Like, font family monospace proportional. Oh, it's probably... Can I get the name from, like, the default monospace? Yes, my font dash bold usually. Yeah, I get that, but, like, here it doesn't even seem like we're guaranteed to have a name. So I guess let's just print out what the font ID is, and we can kind of get a clue from there. So we can say, print line. Probably up here. Text format. Dot. Font ID. Okay. Dot family. Let's just see what he is. And he's probably going to say monospace. Yeah. And so, like, what does that mean, right? Like, that's this guy. Can we, like, say, what the fuck is your monospace font actually? Let's see. Monospace. Because, like, somewhere someone has to turn that into, like, an actual fucking font. One of the names in font definitions families. Which font names to use for each font family. Which fonts to use for each font family. I see. So I can say, hey, which family, like, what are my options for monospace fonts? And then how does he choose which one to use? You know? You know? Style. Text styles. Go to font ID. Where's like the font definitions get used? They must be used somewhere. They must be used somewhere. Maybe. It's weird that bold just isn't an option. eGUI bold. Maybe somebody's asked this guy before. He's usually pretty responsive on GitHub. eGUI bold text. Bold. And update the layout job cache. Yeah, I get that. That's exactly what I'm doing. Take the cursor range and update the layout job cache. But like bold isn't one of the options. You know? You know? This feels stupid. I'm surprised that they're like, it just seems like the kind of thing that must already exist. I feel like I might have missed something here. Background, italics, underline, straight through, v-align. Color, line height, extra letter spacing, font ID. No, it does just have to be this. Ugh. Ugh, 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 ugh. I guess we can just manually choose one, but for default, instead of using the eGUI monospace, the eGUI default. I wish there was a way to go from this to like a font definition. Okay, but how? Wait, we got distracted. There should be a list of keys into self font data. So where? Somewhere somebody is storing the definitions. Fonts, font definition, default. So I set fonts for the font definition. So I should be able to get fonts. eGUI context fonts. This is going to take in a fonts. And does he allow me to get the definitions? He lets me lay stuff out. Layout with a color. Families. List all the known families. Okay. Is there no way for me to like... Where does the definitions go? Right, I want to go back to this families to font for real. There's a to-do to add weight. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I picked a bad one to start with. If I picked with italics, we just wouldn't be in this scenario. Yeah, it would be nice. Okay, so what happens when he does like a layout? Ah. I see. So he just by default checks for these. And probably so his families internally, he stores the families internally, but that's just not exposed to me, I guess. Which is kind of like reasonable. Like I'm not saying that there's a problem with the implementation of that at all. It's just annoying. Because it just means that I can't use like the default monospace font and then ask for the bold version by just appending bold to it. Which blows. But we can get around this by just setting it ourselves. So we can just go back to wherever we were reading this. And we can just hard code a font that we like for now, which isn't like great, but you know, whatever. It's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world at all. So we can just download this guy. Dude. Install a font. Windows executable. That's insane. Right? Right? Like that you need some sort of like installer to like use a TTF. That's wild. Okay. Sorry. Distracted. We can make a resder and unpack the downloaded hack font. I guess we've downloaded this before, so we'll just unpack the old one. And we can just kind of yoinkies, pasties. And you can open the TTF and click install. Okay, that makes way more sense. And we can just install, I guess we can just, wherever he sets this guy, we just say, hey, here is my font data. So we make a fonts. We make a fonts on construction of our whole application. And we insert one that we like, which we're going to call hack. And this is going to come from dot dot slash dot dot slash, maybe just one dot dot slash res hack hack regular. Okay, we're gonna insert another one that's hack bold and say hack bold bold. Okay, easy. And then we just need to set the names. So we say, hey, here's your monospace font. Okay. Okay. Is there a default implementation of this guy? Source, default. That's pretty funny, actually. They already have hack in there. That's pretty funny. But we don't know that they do that, technically. Right? We don't know that that's what they're doing. So, so we're going to add our own hack and hack bold. And we're going to push hack, our hack, as the first monospace thing. The push here is kind of surprising to me. Does the defaults not set the families? He just inserts data. Oh, no, he does insert. So here he says, hey, I want to put hack. Wouldn't that put it as the last thing? Shouldn't I put it at the first? Right here he's saying, oh, here he is saying highest priority is insert. Inserts here. That makes more sense. So this is insert 0 hacked owned. Perfect. And now we can assume that the monospace font we're using is hack, and then we can just ask for hack bold if it's bold. Otherwise, use hack. So let bold font is equal to. How do we like get our font ID from the fonts we've installed now? We have the eGUI context, and he has fonts. And he takes in a font. He has like a fonts thing. And can we get the font by name? Maybe not, but we can just construct the font ID manually. We know what we called it. So we're going to say font ID. I guess it's family. So bold font family is a font family name hack bold to string into. Okay. That seems reasonable, right? And we'll just call this regular font family is just hack. And so then for each of these, we say if something, I've already forgotten, we have some sort of bold somewhere. Are we in, like, was my LSP running? Feels like it's not. It is. All right. So we can just say if something, tag.bold, we set the format dot font ID? Yep, font ID is equal to dot family. We're only changing the family. Is equal to the bold font family. Otherwise, it's the regular font family. There we go. Cargo run. Fuck. eGUI font family is just in the root. Font family. Font data. Font definitions. And here, clone. We always clone. All right. Let's see it, baby. Let's see it. Fuck. Hack is not bound to any fonts. But I did it over here. I didn't actually do anything with these, but I constructed them. CC eGUI CTX set fonts. Fine. Like, you want me to set them? You want me to set them? I will. Like, if you're gonna be like that, You'd be like, call the code you want to run. Like, fuck you. Fine, I'll call the code. Still not bound though, which is kind of surprising, to be honest. That's surprising. I must not understand this. Okay, so when we say set fonts, we set the set font definitions, okay. And when can we just iterate back over the fonts here and see they fonts. eGUI context, eGUI UI fonts. Read only access to fonts. And is one of the things I can do look at the font name. So where is there like, there was somewhere that they had like an iterator over the possible families. Am I high? Families. Okay, well, let's see at the very least which families we have. For family in UI, how did we get here? Fonts. UI fonts. And this takes in a thing that takes in fonts. Say for font in fonts, print line font. Simple. Simple. Where does he want that semicolon here? Fonts dot families. All right, what we got here, baby? Proportional monospace. But I set them. I set them here. Oh, do I need to insert the families? Fonts.families. Yeah. Definitions. I probably have to set the names of the things I want. So, families. Insert. Font family named. Hack to string into. Vec hack. I see. And we probably put this in for bold. So hack bold goes to hack bold, which is a weird way for this to be managed. I'm sure it makes sense to somebody, just not to me. And then we actually have to set the fonts again. I don't know why I lost that. eGUI CTX set fonts. He doesn't like this because it's not named. It's name like this. And he doesn't like these guys aren't two stringed. Hello, welcome. What's up? There we go. So now, if I pager equals cat get log, I wish I could tell if those were bold, but I think they are. I think that head is bold and it wasn't before. We can get add -u, get commit -m smiley face, and get checkout -1, and try to run it and see. Maybe we'll screenshot it before, open up the screenshot and compare after. So we can say pager equals cat get log -n1. I'm pretty fucking sure that changed. I'm pretty sure that head is bold as fuck. Get checkout whip again. Runner again. Pager equals cat get log -n1. Oh yeah, I'm pretty fucking sure that worked. Where did that thing go? It must have gone into my pictures, probably somewhere. No pictures on the left. Sick. Home. Pictures. And just now. Try to get around the same size. Yeah. That's definitely bold now. Hell yeah, baby. So that wasn't so bad, to be honest. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. So maybe we commit -- amend. Just say bold now. Whip. Just so I don't forget. And what did I do from like what did that actually involve changing? So we renamed cursor pause to cursor state. We injected our bold font by hand. We added a stupid print, and then all we did in the GUI was we said if the thing is bold, we use the bold font, otherwise we use the regular font. And then added just some like bold flags. A few more cursor pause to cursor state renames. Added bold as a boolean here. Some renames again, color tracker to format tracker, color tracker, color tag to format tag. But otherwise it's actually not that much. All we did, the only actual real code I feel like is here, where we just said, if we get the SGR number, set the cursor pause to bold, and I think everything else almost just worked. Like there's a lot of changes in here, but they're not really doing anything. They're just like kind of like minor data shuffling. It's only this, which is pretty cool. That's pretty sick. Okay. I think we're at the 2 hour mark. And so I think I'm gonna call it there. Looks like we made like a lot of progress, to be honest. We did a lot today. So we fixed the git log thing, so our git log looks pretty good now. Fuck. What's the command again? Pager equals cat git log -n2 or something. Like that doesn't look bad, to be honest. That looks like pretty reasonable. So we fixed like this like color shit. We added like cyan. We fixed the bash prompt, so now we're using bash instead of ash, and we are like not just printing some garbage when bash is trying to ask us to do something. We're not handling what bash is asking us to do, but we're not falling over as hard, which is great. We fixed the clear command, which is sick, and then added bold. Yeah, good progress for the day. So thanks for watching, y'all. If you like what you saw, I stream most days at around 1 or 2 o'clock Pacific time. Right now we're working on this terminal emulator, which we'll probably be working on for at least a little bit longer until I get bored. But we try to cover like a variety of stuff, right? So, you know, we've done some AI, we've done some operating systems, done some 3D graphics, you know, et cetera, et cetera. There's GitHub link in the Twitch description where you can like see the code as it gets a little prettied up and pushed, and there's a Discord link for if you want to like chat about stuff offline or you know, get announcements for when I'm going live and stuff. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to swing by and say hi, there's a Twitch link in the YouTube description. I think that's all I got to plug. I think you might have been able to use the font in place instead of using font families. I don't think so, because I think the text, like the font ID, which is how, so okay, this is like handled by layout jobs, and the layout jobs is like markers of layout sections for the data. We like specify the range of the thing, and in the format, one of the things we have is a font ID, and the font ID has to have a font family. So I think that I had to specify a named font family so that I could get a font ID, so that I could set it in the text format, so that I could set it in the layout section. So I think that it was necessary, but I might be missing if you meant something else. Yeah, anyways. I think we're done for the day. So thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one. Bye!